Om Namo Narayana, Jai Swaminarayan, welcome back. I thought I wouldn't hesitate to follow up on my last episode where we asked the question, what is a cult? And how do we know that what is we're looking at, that it is a cult? It's a great 1 hour show if you haven't been on it. Today's quasi-sequel. We're kind of filling in some gaps. I want to recommend some books related to cults to you, because I know this is a topic a lot of people really like digging into. And, the internet's great, but there's stuff on books that you just can't get on Wikipedia. So there are 4 books we're going to talk about today. Before I do that, some years ago, I lived in Seattle. I actually grew up on the West Coast, north of Seattle, but for a little while I lived in the town proper, and there was a strip club near me. I didn't go there, didn't want to, but there was a sign that entertained me whenever I saw it. It said, 12 beautiful women and 1 ugly one. I thought that was the best thing ever. So today, along that theme, we are doing 3 excellent cult books and 1 horrible one. And you'll have to wait to the end to see the horrible one, but you should. It is a horrible book you should avoid, and the thing is, you probably know it. So before I go any farther, I want to make a little housekeeping comment. I have been struggling with my camera and filming and doing things. It's just driving me bonkers. It's like every time I try to improve this channel, I get knocked down. I just broadcasted a show, the cult show, 4 times because every time I couldn't make it work. And it's interesting because I didn't really have any major problems until I bought a camera. Problems started. Bought a better one, still problems. Encoder problems. Then I paid for an encoder, and as soon as I paid for an encoding system, which you're looking at now, wow, I just couldn't even broadcast one night, and I haven't been able to hook up, and it's just been horrible. So if you are watching this and you can't hear me, or you can't see me, or I'm doing Mr. Roboto dance, feel free to put it. Actually, I don't know if I have the stream window open or not, but you can always put it in the comments. I will find out when I'm done with this show how bad it was. I am, because I'm just so neurotic, recording this right now in another camera. And so if this is bad, we're saved. I'm just going to download the video from the other camera, and we'll just re-upload it, so you will get a chance to see it, and you won't have to wait. My cult video was horrible. I couldn't broadcast. I didn't have a backup camera, and it was so hot that when I was editing the video afterwards, my computer kept crashing every few seconds. It was just like, not the computer, but the program. It just couldn't do it. So I'm actually sitting next to a fan right now, and the window's open, so you do hear stuff in cars, and hopefully there'll be no lawnmower. I was recording some videos earlier, and there was a lawnmower or a motorcycle or some really noisy thing, but I can't close the windows. I will suffocate and just drown in heat. My cats too. So bear with the sounds, and hopefully this is broadcasting well. And if you're watching this and you notice that I am not looking into the camera, it means the original broadcast failed and you're looking at the backup camera. That's the little hint. Anyways, let's get on to the show. You're here not talk about IT stuff, but if you want to, I would love to talk to you. Let's talk about cult books. So the first book I want to talk about, I should say first of all 2 of the books, I'm just looking at them, are Sanatana Dharma Hindu. 1 is not. And actually 1 right now, so actually, sorry, my math is wrong. I distracted myself with the cameras. 2 books are Sanatana Dharma, 2 are not. But if you are studying cults, you need to look at the whole world of material. You need to say what has been said about the Moonies, or about this group, or about that group, because cults all kind of act the same. I mean, it's not really a coincidence. We're all humans. We're all really the same on some level. A cult that's a Buddhist cult versus a Christian cult often has a lot of similarities. Like a lot of similarities, to the point where if you're watching a video, or you're reading a book, or studying something on one group, you're going to find so much overlap with the other one that you will be able to come to the other one very secure in your approach to it. You know what I mean? You're not going to have to start all over. Oh, it's Christian. I have to now learn everything about Christianity. No, you don't. Oh, it's Jim Jones, so now I have to learn everything about New Ageism. No, you don't. If you know about one thing, you can learn about another. So 2 of the books are not Sanatana Dharma, which is the focus of this channel, but also the focus of this channel is just spirituality in general and getting the biggest picture that we can. I just think one path is really awesome. Also, let me make one note. Every religion has cults. There are no exceptions to this rule, unless it's like a really, really small religion. And what I have found sometimes is there's often a little group that is a cult of personality, which is not a cult. Those are 2 different things. I discussed this in the cult program, so go check out that program, my previous live show. But pretty much all mainstream religions, all very large religions, all religions with probably more than a few hundred members have the potential to have cults in them, or to be a cult. You know, sometimes you can have a group and a small part of it is very cultish, because, you know, we group off and we click off and whatever. So the study of cults is across the board. There's no one is immune to it, truly. There are exceptions, but like I said, mainstream religions, Buddhism, Islam, Baha'i, Christian, Sanatana Dharma, you name it, they've all got it. Okay, that's a small print. Let's start. Book number 1. So this is a book that, first of all, I've read all these books. That's why I recommend them. I think they're all good books except for one, the Ugly Woman book. And this first book is really good, even if it's not a topic you're interested in. I found it just to be so enlightening. So this first book is not explicitly on cults, but this is a group. It is about a group that fell into cult-like behavior after the founder died, which is really common, and in a way to kind of keep itself alive and to keep the teachings pure. And what happened was a particular person rose up and led the group and became very much a dictator, and people kind of went, oh yes, yes, yes. And suddenly this group was falling into so many of the attributes that make a cult. What are those attributes? Check out the last video. There's 8 of them to start with, and then you can expand out. And when you get 8 attributes, we won't go over them here, last video, you can now find yourself as a cult when you hit these 8 attributes. So this is about a group that became a cult and then stopped because it was just all about this one person, and then when they removed him, life went back to normal. And today this organization is still around, and it is an amazing organization. They just had a very dark moment, for lack of a better word. The book we're dealing with is called Shoes Outside the Door, Desire, Devotion, and Excess at the San Francisco Zen Center by Michael Downing. Let's see if you can get a good look at that cover. So this is about the San Francisco Zen Center. So this is one of our 2 non-Sanatana Dharma books. Sometimes vowels and words just skip over my tongue not very nicely. So this is the story of the founding of the San Francisco Zen Center by Shunri Suzuki Roshi, which is a wonderful thing that happened. And then Richard Baker Roshi stepping up after Shunri Suzuki passed away and becoming the head of the San Francisco Zen Center, and a little bit of a dictator and a little bit of an authoritarian control, and just turn the place into his show-off room, or showroom, I don't know, whatever. Turn the place into a world where he could show off how amazing he was, while folks were working in the kitchen all day long, even unable to come to Zen practice. And that's why they were living at the San Francisco Zen Center, is to do Zen practice, not work in a kitchen all day long. And no one stood up to him. Everyone bowed to him. He was basically a king. He had servants. They just weren't paid. And he had people doing everything he wanted. And his views were the end-all be-all. That's a sign of a cult. When everything stops at one person and there's no discussion, unlike an office where, yeah, you may have ups or downs, but where it all stops at one person, you have yourself a cult. Then things changed. It's been so long since I've read this, I forget exactly how the San Francisco Zen Center cleaned itself up, and it got out of that. It removed him. He is disgraced. I don't know what he does today. I don't even know if he's still alive. But they fixed their reputation. They got things back on going, and they just became an amazing, amazing place. This is a fascinating story if you're interested in Zen Buddhism, on the founding of a temple in America by an amazing teacher. His book, you probably know if you know Zen, called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. He founded this temple. Richard Baker started it. And if you want to find out about a group that isn't, like I said, it's not a cult. It became kind of a cult mixed with a cult of personality, and then dropped from one, which is not the common outcome. Jim Jones, as we see, David Koresh, as we see, many others. It's not the common outcome. This is a fascinating book. I was riveted when reading this. Now, I was also riveted because I recognize names. I just opened the page right now and saw the name Michael Wenger, Dairu Michael Wenger Roshi, who I met and is a amazing, wonderful man. A profound teacher who went on and formed his own thing. I practiced at the San Francisco Zen Center for a summer, and that's why I picked this up. And I like controversy, so even when I was there, I was like, I'm going to read this, but I just won't tell anybody. I spent the summer, 2003. I was in San Francisco for the entire summer, and a friend of mine knew I was heavy into religion, and he's like, dude, there's this Zen place, so you can stay as a student, and they have food, and like everyone loves them. And this is long after the Dark Ages, and he goes, for X amount of money, you can spend a week there as a student, and you're just there all day, every day, like 6 days a week. What do you think? I know you don't have any money, I don't have any money, but we could put something together and just give you this. This is your birthday present. I went, yes. So I spent a week getting up at 4 a.m. to the sound of a gong. I had 20 minutes to go meditate, which often was just me falling back to sleep, because I'm not really good at meditating for 2 hours in the morning and doing walking, Kinhin meditation, and then cleaning and all sorts of things, and studying and meeting some awesome people like Dairu Michael Wenger. And it was an amazing experience. And then I left after the week, but I just lived down the block, so I would often come back for some of their Saturday morning Dharma talks, where they invite in a teacher. They also have meals. They have food. San Francisco Center is famous for its food and a great kitchen, and so I used to come for the meals, and I would practice them in the afternoon, and it was an amazing summer, an amazing time in my life when I realized I wasn't a Buddhist. I had studied Buddhism previously in college as a religious studies minor, and I never really it didn't do anything for me, and being there I just realized it wasn't my thing, not at all. But I got to learn about the rituals, and I got to learn about things and stuff in the physical world of hardcore religion and stuff, and that really had a profound effect on me and really created a foundation which I would then build upon. So it was an amazing experience. I believe today they still do that. You can still sign up for a week there or work at one of the other places. I think it's actually expanded. I know when I was there, they had a building next door too. There was just so many people. If life had been different, I probably would have applied to become a full-time resident there, but I ended up moving to Japan. And no, I didn't get into Buddhism there either, nor Shinto. I found Adidam and went more back to Hinduism, which I had started as. But it's just an amazing summer, and it's an amazing community. And I think they do online sittings now, so you don't have to be in San Francisco even though they have a beautiful zendo. You can actually tune in online and zoom in and be a part of their community. I would highly recommend that if you like meditation and you like Zen practice and you want to be a part of a tradition. And this is a tradition who has gone up and they have gone down. They've had some amazing teachers come through, and they've had others who have not been so amazing. In the end, though, they are a survivor and they're stronger for it, I think. And they left this great book by Michael Downing as a lesson for the rest of us. And he interviewed people and he studied there. And he went through the documents for years and years and years. And thank him so much. Thanks to the Zen Center for being willing to put their story out there. To be willing to say, a lot of groups never say that. They deny, and they did at the time deny, but this is an amazing contribution to cult studies. It's quasi-cult studies. They didn't ever really get into the hardcore stuff, but they verged on it, and they started to go in that deadly direction. Amazing book. I honestly can't recommend it enough. So this is my first book in today's tour. The second one is Sanatana Dharma. And the second one is a book that I have actually mentioned on this channel before. I did a whole live stream on it. You will find a live stream entitled, Does ISKCON Brainwash Its Members? I won't tell you the answer. Please go back and check out that live stream. But the book, it was such a good book. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear the big semi-trucks going by. It's funny, we develop these electric cars, and cars get better and quieter, and actually we just bought a new one. We just ordered a Subaru coming from Japan, which is my girlfriend's dream car. I'm spending a lot of money on it, but they last. And our cars are so much nicer now, and yet semi-trucks are still loud and noisy. Can we do something about that, people? Never mind. If you could see what I see. Actually, it's a nice green park, and I'm just going to interrupt myself here like I always do. And a few weeks ago, I was sitting watching something, and I heard, whatever. There's crazy people out here all the time. And all of a sudden, I heard, Jaya, 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 Rama, Rama. I'm like, what? It was the Boston ISKCON group up doing something. I had forgotten they were in town, and they were marching through the park. I grabbed my camera, but it wasn't good by the time they left. And that was cool to see. You never know what's going to happen in the city park. Anyways, back to the book I want to talk about. This is the book I talked about before. And speaking of ISKCON, this book is actually related to ISKCON. This is called The Dark Lord, Cult Images, and the Hare Krishnas in America by Larry D. Shinn. So the title doesn't do it justice. I believe the title really isn't that good. Cult Images and the Hare Krishnas in America. It's really a book that asks the question, is ISKCON a cult? And two, do they brainwash members to get them into the cult? And do they brainwash members when they're in a cult? If this is a cult. So are they a cult? Are they brainwashing before, during, and after? And what Larry does really, really well. Now, so this was actually written some years ago, 1987. There is a lot of Hare Krishna ISKCON study academia that has come out since. So this is sort of early, and there's some things missing. He could talk more about women and kids in this, but 1987. I don't blame him for not covering things that now the internet has opened to us. He could rewrite it today. It'd be probably awesome. But he, at the time, though, did the best he could by actually staying with Hare Krishnas and visiting with them and studying with them and basically living with them and talking to them. So he really did a lot. And so he really got in. So if there's things missing, he did some good work. He did a lot of work that no one else has really done. But the thing I really like about this book is he also surveyed the literature of cults in existence up until this time. And the late 70s and early 80s are a great time for cult study. It's in the light of Jim Jones. It's in the light of trials of people trying to get their family members out of cults. One of those trials kind of inspired the writing of this book because it was about a family trying to get their kid out of ISKCON. There was a lot of that sort of deprogramming movement and a cult awareness that really hadn't existed. So he looks in this book, The Dark Lord, at all the literature that's out there. And remember, the very beginning of this show, I said it's great to look at all the literature. It doesn't matter what your religion is. Look at the literature from another religion, because cults, they all kind of act alike, they all overlap, and he demonstrates that. He talks a lot in here about the Moonies. He talks about Christianity. He talks about Hinduism, ISKCON, and he looks at all these studies. He goes, well, here's a study on the Moonies, okay? And this is what it says a cult is. Now, here's a study that was done on Jim Jones, and this is what it says a cult is. Well, let's take these two things and compare. Where are the overlaps? And how can we create some cohesive study out of this, a third study that then is going to be good to look at ISKCON? So if this group has these traits, this group has these traits, can we now take those and now look at ISKCON to see if ISKCON's a cult? And he really digs in. That's the best part of this book. I think in some ways that's the whole reason to get this book, because his determination of whether ISKCON is or is not a cult, or does not brainwash before, during, well, you don't do it afterwards, but before, during, I think sometimes he touches on topics he doesn't want to get into, and so he steps back a little bit. I sometimes feel like he doesn't really want to upset anyone's feelings, so he doesn't hit home. He just says, okay, here's some ideas. Now you kind of deal with them, instead of going no or yes. It's a soft approach. The parts on ISKCON, actually, I found to be the least interesting, but his study of cults was fascinating. It makes getting this book, it's a rather thin book, worth hunting up. You're probably wondering, I know you're wondering, well, Fernand, I forgot, what's the answer? Does ISKCON brainwash? Are they a cult? Well, I'm gonna give you the answer, but then I'm gonna tell you to go watch my video where I dissect it more. The answer is no. No to both things. And I will vouch that from other things I've read. No, I do not believe ISKCON is a cult, and I do not believe they brainwash. But who, what, when, where, and why? You gotta go watch my video. So I'm actually reading a book right now. One of the, what is it? Gold Guns and, sorry, looking at it on my shelf. The Gold Guns and God book by Henry Dvorsky. The massive, was it? I forget how many volumes. Look at New Vrindavan, and he talks about the shit that was going on there. I'm like 75 pages into volume 4. I want to read volume 8, the one on this one's on the kids and the women. The other one I want to read is on the Christianization of the rituals. And you know what? Even reading this, I think there was some shit stuff going on, but I don't get any feeling that ISKCON is a cult. No, I get feelings of people doing things because they want to do things, not forced to do things, not manipulated. And cults often prevent you from speaking your mind, but I don't get that either. You can. That's my personal opinion. I elaborate that more on a earlier show, but you may have other thoughts, and that doesn't mean that just because I say it and others say it that ISKCON is not. There may be parts of ISKCON that work like a cult. New Vrindavan, which these books are talking about, verged on being a cult at times. More a cult of personality, which is really different. It can be a cult, it can look like a cult, but it isn't a cult. It is different. How do we know? 8 points, last video. My next book, book number 3, is really, how do I say this? A book that will rip your heart out. This is a book that I hunted for. Sorry, I'm just adding something here in my computer before I got a comment coming through, so I'm just updating this. This next book is worth reading if you have a strong stomach. I'm just going to say that. If you don't like too much controversy, don't read it. If you really don't want to get into some dark things, this may not be a good book to read. I'm giving you warnings now because some people really don't want to go to some dark places. You're probably wondering what this is, and as soon as you see it, you're either going to go, oh my God, or oh, that's crap, or oh, yes, I know. This book, Cartwheels In A Sari, a memoir of growing up cult. And this is by Jayanti Tamm, who was born into the New York community of Sri Chimnoy. If you like Sri Chimnoy, don't read this book. I'm just going to tell you, it will ruin Sri Chimnoy for you. 100%. Well, maybe not. I went to his restaurant, actually, I went to his restaurant in Brooklyn, I forget where, right before I left New York, and I was really happy to be there. I was with a friend, and it was just a great experience, and excellent food, and I'd already read this book, but yeah, part of me is like, okay, I'm not too sure about this guy. And I've actually read a few books by Sri Chimnoy. This is a book about a young lady who was born and raised in his group, commune, I don't know what we call it. Knew him personally, was called a saintly child, and grew up and tore it all down in the pages. Absolutely destroys the organization in these pages. You wouldn't think a book so small could be so destructive, but this is gut-wrenching. I think one of the problems I see is whenever children grow up in a religious community and they rebel, because kids rebel, and they will rebel. Just because you say to a kid, well, Krishna loves you, doesn't mean they're not going to rebel. They're going to. People want to find their own space. That just makes things harder on the kid. So some have said, well, she rebelled and she went away, whatever. I've seen criticism of the book that it's not true and whatever. But what she talks about in this book of what she had to do and what she was supposed to do or not supposed to do, that's a big one. There is no question that Sri Chimnoy's group was a cult. There's no question about it. It falls into the 8 categories in my previous video, without question. The other thing she talks about here is even if you want to give Sri Chimnoy the benefit of the doubt, many people do. Remember, this is the guy who has lifted more weights than anyone using only the force of the Dharma. So if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, that with little arms no bigger than mine, he can lift more weight than any human possible, there are things in this book that will still make you skeptical. So Sri Chimnoy is famous for writing series of books. I've seen them. They're this big and they go on forever. For example, he wrote a poetry series. He's written numerous poetry series, and I think one of them is 1,000 books. Like I said, they're only this big, and there's 1,000 of them. And I forget, how many poems are in each book, and they're just massive. And the idea is, how does one man accomplish this? How does one man write all these poems in months and months and months? And they're divinely inspired, etc., etc. Well, obviously, Sri Chimnoy is amazing because he can. Well, according to this book, he can't, and he didn't. Also, poems aren't really that good. When you start reading them, a lot of them are just kind of you're not William Shakespeare. You're going into the avant-garde route. You're not really trying for any haikus or things, or you're just keeping it simple. So that's the first thing. But according to her, Sri Chimnoy asked everybody to write poems and submit them to him. Write as many as you can. And they would get published under his name, and he would declare that he had written them. And he did that multiple times, multiple projects. I'm going to do something. Now, all you do it and contribute. I'll write 5, you guys write 500, and I can say we wrote 505, but they're all mine. So even if you give them the benefit of the doubt, stories like that from this will boggle your mind. These books are hard to read. There's others like this out there. I haven't read all the cult books. There's many I'm not talking about today, but these are just 4 I wanted to talk about. If you have read cult books that are grisly like this, feel free to recommend them to me below. I would certainly be interested in reading them. Some I have seen online and I don't know anything about, or I'm not particularly interested in the guru or having a connection, so I haven't read them, and lots are in other groups. But if you have any Sanatana Dharma, gritty books, please do. I love cult books. And I love sort of anti-guru books almost better than other books, because if I want to prove that my guru is the greatest guru, I just have to say he's the greatest, and here's what he's done, and here's something else he's done, and here's somebody else who says something. He's the greatest. But if I want to take that guru down, I have to go a little bit farther. I have to say, well, this person said this, but actually here's what really happened. This person said this, but here's what really happened. This person said this, and I have to literally chip away at things. Whereas in someone who just wants to present their case, my guru is great, they just have to say my guru is great. But if I want to say no, he isn't, I have to really dig away and prove that he isn't. That's what I love about books like this. I don't want to name names, but there are some gurus out there who have published books that I know have been well edited, and they create a perfect story. And I have found most of them to be throwaway. I'm just like, not interested. It's like they're just like a Harlequin romance novel. You read it and you forget about it. These type books, I learn more from these type books than I do any other book. I really learn. And yeah, you can say, oh, they're lies or this or whatever, and maybe someone's cashing in on the line to become a millionaire. Probably not. Probably not doing that. But even, as I said, even if you discount half this book, there's still another half you have to consider. And that's what I like, is there's so much here to hold on to. Whereas if someone says, hey, my guru is great, well, you're good. You don't have to think about it. You can move on. But I'm a skeptic. Anyone who watches this channel knows I'm a skeptic. I ask questions. It's very important to ask questions. And this book completely tears apart Sri Chimnoy. Yes, I have videos on this channel, or I will have videos coming up, where I read some stuff from Sri Chimnoy. I confess that. I will say that the reason I do that, and I have videos from other gurus which I'm not really going to endorse, but the reason I do that is because there's a lot of you out there who do follow these gurus, and so, and also some of these gurus actually have some good things. So there are some things Sri Chinmoy said that are actually really, really good. And there are people who have done things who are followers of Sri Chinmoy who are awesome, amazing people. Just because he couldn't really, in my mind, lift more weight than any human known to man, that doesn't necessarily mean that his marathon team should be debunked too. So I read some of this stuff to almost look at the bigger picture. And I say that because I'm a marathon runner, and I've even read a book about the Transcendental Marathon that he established by one of the women who ran it and finished it. And I think that's really cool. So there's this fine line of, yes, he did this, but he also did this, and maybe someone else didn't. So I read stuff on my channel to recognize that big family tree, even though there's parts of that family tree that I don't really want to have anything to do with beyond just giving a moment in a video. Does that make sense? It's like your own family tree. You have all the relatives you like, and then there's a few others that they're on your tree, but you don't like to talk to them, or maybe there's someone you haven't talked to in decades. It's just like that. Does that make sense? Anyways, Cartwheels In A Sari, well worth reading. So that is my 3 beautiful women. And now I'm going to close out this show with a book you should avoid at all costs. And this is a book that actually says on the front, the standard reference for work on the subject of cults. I think it's the complete opposite. I think it's well promoted and pushed by people who have a huge agenda, and it is a horrible book on cults and has nothing to do with cult study other than to create a brand new world of cult study, which is irrelevant to anything. It's just garbage. I do not like this book. It was recommended to me when I was young. I picked it up by a friend who really just was like, this is it. This book is great. And I'm a very smart guy. And I ended up reading it going, I don't know. It makes me feel uncomfortable. And then later I actually got rid of it and I bought a copy again later on because I'm like, oh, maybe it's not so bad. And I'm reading it going, nope, this is garbage. This book is literally the opposite of what you want when reading a book on cults. And it's going to shock you. I'm going to show you this book, and you guys know it. I know you know this book. And you're going to go, whoa, you don't recommend this book? And I don't in any way, shape, or form. If you have it, just get rid of it. Or tear out some good parts. There's a few good parts in it. Are you ready for this? This is the big one, folks. And I'm sure I'm going to get myself in trouble for bringing this up. But here we go. The famous Walter Martin's The Kingdom of the Cults. This is the de facto textbook on cults for Christians. And it's garbage, even for Christians. You probably know this book. There's been numerous revisions of it. This is a lousy book. If you are into cult studies, as I said at the beginning of the show, I'm going to have 3 great books and 1 horrible one. This is the horrible one. This is a lousy book on cult studies, and I wanted to share it with all of you today so you avoid it and don't let it corrupt your study of cults. So this is a book that basically says a cult is anyone who doesn't believe in Jesus and the Bible in the proper way. So I don't know if they're in here, but Eastern Orthodox might be considered a cult because they have different interpretations. That's basically it. That is the entire criteria in this book. It doesn't matter if your group is, doesn't matter anything. If you don't believe in the Bible, you don't believe in Jesus, that's it. In my last video, I talked about 8 criteria. And clearly, when you watch the video, you will see the 8 criteria can be applied to anyone, anything. And in the video, I actually say, if someone says a group is a cult because they don't believe in Jesus, they're wrong. They actually don't have it. That 8 criteria is missing from this book. Yet this is considered authoritative. I saw some Christians recently talking about this book and like, we have the best book on cults. This is it. Like, you guys are so much smarter than this. Because this book, as I said, it says to you, if you don't believe in Jesus, if you don't believe in the Bible, if you don't believe in God and the way the Protestant church promotes, you're a cult. So the Pope's a cult. Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult. Let's see, I'm just flipping through here. Jehovah's Witnesses get so much time. Christian Science a cult. Mormons a cult. You know, those are cult. And then pretty much everybody else is too. Buddhist, Hindu, not Mormon, Muslim, spiritualism, Sufism, Theosophical Society, you name it, they're all in here. They're all cults. But yet, as I said in the last video, you have to have 8 points in order to be a cult. Well, 3 of them are not Bible, God, and Jesus. Those aren't even on the list. So this is a book that is not about cults. This is about promoting Christianity. This is a book for Christians who don't actually want to study cults, but want to find excuses to debunk other religions and say Christianity is the one, the truth, the light, the way, and anything you say is wrong because, well, you're a cult. That's all this book is. There is one good thing about the book, though. I do want to mention. So every chapter opens up, sometimes they're really short, sometimes they're really small, with details. Like this one, I just have open to the Theosophical Society, and it's one, it's 2 pages that just details an overview. And the overview is actually really, really good. And I think that might be one reason I think back why my friend recommended this book, because the overview, it really gives you a good grasp. In a pre-Wikipedia world, this was a great resource. And then it talks about like historical sources and different things. And then it goes into theology, and it actually does a really, really good overview. That's when it falls apart. So, for example, the Theosophical Society chapter talks about the thing, historical sources, Madame Blavatsky and Mrs. Besant's search. And the guy who writes this, Walter, is actually very respectful. But then he has to go, okay, now you've got the picture. Now you know what this group is. Instead of actually bringing to it authentic cult academic approaches, he just falls right into, are you a Christian or not? So the next chapter is Theosophy and Christian Theology, God and Man and Theosophy, the Vicarious Atonement, Sin, Salvation and Prayer, Resurrection versus Reincarnation, Out of the Labyrinth into the Light, basically anti-Christian doctrines. And that's how he debunks Theosophy, is by saying, well, it's not Christian. Zen Buddhism comes up next. I just want to flip through. There was one here that I was reading this the other day, and it just made me so angry. The Baha'i faith. So he researches the Baha'i faith, supposedly by interviewing tons of people. That's what he says. But he repeats here extensively over 4 pages an interview with one Baha'i teacher. He's interviewed tons of people, but he's got one teacher interviewed for 4 pages. And it drove me bonkers, because you're going to sit down with a Baha'i faith person. And I don't think the Baha'i faith is a cult, matter of fact, but you're going to sit down with them and you want to discuss with them your religion. And you want to discuss with them, their religion. You want to discuss with them, are you a cult, or, what do you think about cults, or, what's the attributes of religion? This is a great opportunity. I would love to. That'd be so much fun to sit down with someone and discuss their faith. It's what I do on this show, right? Well, what does he do? First question, and maybe he's edited stuff out, but even so, I can't figure out why would stuff be edited out if this guy really cares about scholarship. He'd want everything in here. But no, it's not about scholarship, it's about Christianity. First question out of this guy's mouth. Do you believe in the Holy Trinity? Huh? Really? That's your question? That's your question? So then the guy answers, and then the Martin goes, is Jesus Christ the only manifestation of the deity? That is he to be believed when he said, I am the way, the truth, and the light? No one comes to the Father but me. And then the guy answers as fair as he can. And then the next question is, since you believe that Jesus spoke to his own, you see where we're going? Next question. You must realize that many of the things written in the New Testament. Next question. The resurrection of Jesus from the dead is the true foundation of Christian experience. Next question. Then you do not actually believe in the bodily resurrection of Christ? Next question. In Jewish theology and Christian theology, much stress is laid upon sacrificial atonement for sin. Next question. If, as you say, Moses, Buddha, Zoroaster, Confucius, Christ, Muhammad, Krishna, Lo, and Baha'i are all equal manifestations of the divine mind, how do you account for the fact that they contradict each other? For we know God is not the author of confusion. Next question. Do you accept the sacred books of the world religions? That one's the first decent question. Next question. Jesus Christ taught that salvation from sin could be effected only by acceptance of him. Next question. What do you mean then in that you yourself are cooperating with God and working for your salvation? Next question. Then do you believe in final judgment and the existence of paradise and hell? Can I keep going? Next question. Putting this on a personal basis without meaning to be offensive, because he's absolutely offensive, might I ask you if you personally, this moment, believe that you are a good practicing disciple of the Baha'i faith? And do you, at this moment, know with certainty that your sins have all been forgiven, and that if you were to be called to be accounting tonight before the throne of God, you would be you would be adjudged fit and worthy to enter His heavenly kingdom. Next question. Does the Baha'i faith recognize the personality and deity of the Holy Spirit as revealed in the New Testament? Last question. There is no doubt that is it not true that a great deal of your theology is borrowed from Islam, and the Muslims have made the same claim for Muhammad, where Christ's prophecy in John 14 is recorded as you have for the Baha'u'llah? Literally, that's the interview. That's his research. He asked a guy if the guy believed in the Trinity, believed in this, believed in that. That's not research. That's basically saying, well, you don't believe in this. What's wrong with you? Must be a cult member. I may have some issues with the Baha'i faith. You may have some issues with the Baha'i faith. You may love the Baha'i faith. I have a relative who's a member, matter of fact. My cousin used to be. Don't know if she still is. And I had a couple classmates who were. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is the worst scholarly research I have ever read in my life. And this is the worst sit-down discussion I have ever read in my life. Even when Swami Prabhupada wrote, oh, that's a rascal, he did better than this garbage. Yet, we are to believe that this is an authoritative text on cults. So there's a conclusion, a page later. And the conclusion is, the Baha'i faith does not recognize Jesus Christ. Therefore, it is a cult. I can't. But yet, I see Christians over and over and over again recommend this book, talk about this book, say it's an amazing book. This is the book. If you have this book, you have the authoritative view of cult. Yet, I mentioned earlier, this book, which shows study after study after study after study, none of those studies come up in the Kingdom of the Cults. All those studies on the Moonies, and there is a bibliography in the Dark Lord, which goes on and on. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pages. And the guy cites, and the footnotes for citations of studies and books is enormous. And he makes a point of showing that there are 8 points, 12 points, 15 points that groups have. This one, nothing. Nothing. So I should mention that us Hindus get in, and it's just like, you're kidding me? So the chapter is entitled Eastern Religions. And I know you're not honking for me. Part of the problem is there's an intersection down the road. I'm just looking through the rest of the book because I'm gonna end on this. So you're discussing Hinduism. Now we could discuss Neo-Hinduism. We could discuss Sanatana Dharma. Those are two different things. Not here. It's just Eastern religions. And how does he approach Eastern religions? By examining 3 aspects. Okay. Your first guess is going to be, he discusses maybe Indians in America. Or immigrants, or maybe he discusses religion, like a religion abroad and religion in India, or maybe he discusses Vaishnavas, Shaivites, New Age people, right? He discusses the Advaita Vedanta, or he discusses this or that, whatever, right? No, he discusses Rajneesh, ISKCON, and TM. That's it. That's all he needs to debunk 5,000 years of history is Rajneesh, ISKCON, and TM, Transcendental Education. Rajneesh, Osho. And so basically, all of Hinduism can be encompassed in those 3 groups, I guess. I mean, none of them are Shaivites, so we've just blown the Shaivites away. None of them are, Tantric, so we've gotten them away. He does say some good things, like Hinduism today is not the same as it was 5,000 years ago. That is true. We have Neo-Hinduism. It is a different thing. Contemporary Hinduism here. And it's just like, Yeah, I could debunk this. I could sit here for the next 2 or 3 minutes going through this and going, what on earth? Maybe I should do that in an episode. Because it's very fascinating to me how outsiders view something. So how does an outsider view, view Osho? How does an outsider view ISKCON? Not very well. And it's interesting because it's a page given to ISKCON. 5,000 years of history, you give it a page. And I'm not going to, it's the description's like 2 lines. But then it says ISKCON beliefs. Okay, this is good. So ISKCON beliefs. First subject heading, God. I'm just going to read it. Although the bulk of Hindu scripture is pantheistic, portions of the Hindu scripture, notably the Bhagavad Gita, are basically monotheistic presentations of Hinduism. Hinduism, in seeking to be a synthesis of a variety of Indian thought and belief, contains within its vast scriptural tradition a variety of beliefs about God, even though those beliefs may contradict one another. Since the Bhagavad Gita, which implies a form of monotheism, is the most sacred scripture to ISKCON, we find the ISKCON belief in God to be essentially monotheistic, and Krishna is said to be the supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, yeah, fine. Then it says, any incarnation of the one God is an incarnation of Krishna. So remember I said that he does a good job describing? Good job describing. But then the next subject heading, Christ. And I'm not cussing, I literally mean that's the next one. You're discussing ISKCON and you go to Jesus. To ISKCON, Jesus Christ is Krishna's son, but in a position no more unique to God than any other man could strive to attain. To the Hare Krishna, then, Jesus Christ is not the supreme Son of God, God manifest in the flesh. He is not an incarnation of Krishna. I'm not going to get into the theology of that, but that's really, you're going there. This is how you're going to say if something is a cult, basically by saying it's, what do we think of Krishna or Christ? The third subject heading says salvation. See, this is all garbage. This is not a true intellectual discourse on cults. Go to my previous video, you will see a true intellectual discourse. Just to read a brief of this. I'm already tired of this. I don't even want to read it. It says, salvation in ISKCON is obtained by removing one's karmic debt through devotion to Krishna and right actions through multiple incarnations. And I'm done. I can't. And then he goes into TM and he does the same thing over again. TM beliefs, God, Jesus, and salvation. And he goes, TM ignores Jesus Christ almost totally. Whatever. So the conclusion to this chapter, 5,000 years, his oldest religion in the world, he says, in conclusion, Hinduism, for all of its diversity and contradictions, which does not make one a cult, is not compatible with Christianity, which also doesn't make one a cult. In all its forms, Hinduism denies the biblical trinity, the deity of Christ, the doctrines of the atonement, sin and salvation, salvation by grace through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. It replaces resurrection with reincarnation, and both grace and faith with human works. One cannot then achieve peace with God through Hinduism or any of its sects. You got that, folks? According to this guy, you're never going to find God this way because you're not in tune with Jesus. So even if you say Jesus is part of Hinduism, it still doesn't matter. You just have to be Christian. You see, because there's this big universalism thing, well, Jesus and Krishna, I've seen people say, well, Jesus is the incarnation of Rama. No, he's not, because if he is, you have to rewrite the Bible. And the moment you rewrite the Bible, Jesus is no longer Jesus. Or you have to use books from outside the Bible, which have been debunked. And you basically have to say 2,000 years of Christians are 100% wrong because you say Jesus is Rama. That's a different episode. I don't want to go there, but we will be going there later. Anyways, this guy has just now debunked universalism. If you don't believe in Christ, you're a cult. C.S. Lewis, because Christians love to quote C.S. Lewis, widely observed that at the end of all religious quests, one must choose between Hinduism and Christianity. The former absolves all others, and the latter excludes them. Peace with God is not achieved by looking inside oneself, but by looking up to him, of whom Moses and the prophets did write, Jesus, the Son of Nazareth, the Son and Christ of God. And that's it. So that is why Hinduism is a cult, because it doesn't believe in Jesus. This is the guidebook that Christians use to tell you you are a cult. It doesn't follow any of the standard cult writing, doesn't follow what I talked about in my last episode, the 8 points of what makes a cult. It doesn't follow anything. Please avoid this book if you wish to have a serious discussion on cults. This is not a book that is going to help you. This is propaganda, so you will become a Christian. And if you're a Christian, it will teach you to hate people and misunderstand them. Because if you don't know what a cult is, and you can't properly define a cult as anything not Christian, you are literally doing a disjustice to those who you may or may not like, or may or may not want to convert, but you certainly can't understand them. So on my show today, this is the ugly woman that you need to avoid. And I know, many of you have read this book. Many of you were probably recommended this book. You may have seen it online, but trust me, you should avoid it. And I've had 2 versions of this, and both of them I don't like. I keep it around because it does do a good job, describing the overview of some of these religions. And sometimes I do want to look something up, and I don't want to get on Wikipedia or whatever. And it has its value. And it's also good to keep along books from those who don't like you to find out what they think. So anyways, that is my recommendation today of 4 books on cults. And as I said, there are other books out there on cults. There are other books on cults, of whatever religion, tons on Christianity and Zen, and well, not so much Zen, but Asian groups like the Moonies, tons on Sanatana Dharma. There's so many. I only have so much money, so I haven't bought them all. These are just 4 that I happen to have here that I wanted to share. Also, to spark a conversation. Also, to get you to properly focus and learn about cults. As I said in my last episode, people often talk about cults, but they don't know what they're talking about. That's Martin here. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And so he's setting up conversations which are just starting off on the wrong foot. So I wanted to talk about cults to get you going in the right direction. That being said, I will take recommendations if you have other books that are good to read, other books on cults, of anything. Would love to know about them, and I would be happy to read them to share on this show. So that being said, that is a look of 4 books. Go back to my previous episode where I discussed the 8 attributes of a cult. What makes a cult? That's the previous show. It's an hour, but it's worth your time. I do want to say that it took 4 attempts to get it broadcasting. I had major problems, as I said at the beginning of the show. And so you're going to see an introduction with me talking, and the sound is not good. It got turned down accidentally. Give it like 3 minutes, and then you'll see a pre-recorded show with much better audio. You'll see my cat, Fiona, and there's not many visuals for it, but check it out. So yeah, I'm going to bring this to a close here after an hour. Hopefully this has been valuable to you. Like I said, I like to just kind of throw ideas out there and spark conversation, if nothing else. Sometimes it's just good to put stuff out there and not be afraid to talk about things. That's how we grow as spiritual beings. That's how we grow as real people, to not be afraid. My girlfriend and I just put money down for a brand new car yesterday. Ours, we're going to keep the old one because we bought her used, but she's wearing out, and my girlfriend's always wanted a Subaru. Always. First time we met, first email to me, she said 3 things. I want a Subaru, a dog, and a move to France. We can have the dog someday, probably sooner than not, once we get into a house. The Subaru we're going to get please don't go to France. But she comes to me recently because our car broke. We had to get it fixed, and she's like, maybe you should just buy a new one. I said, okay. Yeah, maybe we should. Let's do that. And she was so afraid. I'm like, don't be afraid. Just do it. Put the money down. You'll suffer today, but you'll be better for it tomorrow. We'll be better, stronger, whatever, tomorrow with this new car. Sorry, helicopter going by because the hospital nearby. If you can hear that. Let's just do it. Because, we go on marathon trips. We want to go here and there, and we're going to need a car that we can rely on. Is it better to just work with ours and get stuck someplace, or just not be afraid and to put it out there? And it's just like, look, we don't even have to talk about this. It's done. That's kind of my approach here. Let's just put stuff out there. Maybe you hate it, maybe you don't, but just put it out there and let's talk about some of this stuff and not be afraid in day and age where people are often afraid, so we can grow together. So anyways, that's a good place to end this show. So questions, comments, whatever, check out my previous episode, and I will catch you next week. We're going to be doing the episode 6 of the Spiritual Seekers class. So, yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. Hopefully my computer thing and my video camera has been going good for you. If it does not, I've recorded it, and we'll put up an actual recording of this. That is good. And I will catch you next week. Read your comments and all that stuff, and blah, blah, blah. If you wish to write to me, down below. If you wish to support this channel, there's ways of doing that down below. And I will see you later. Jai Sri Krishna.